Yes, this is a great example of how writing actually works. And Tailspin and myself are to blame for this. So Portal 2 got flack for not being woke about being adoption. That is 100% true. There's a news story on Seattle News about it. Oh my God, it was bad. But I gotta explain how he got there. But this just goes to prove like how writing works is you bring stuff in, you talk about it, you're trying to make the best game, you're trying to make the best joke, you're trying to talk from a point of view so that it is different than other things, so that you're not bland, right? That is why you have all this diversity and all of this pulling from other sources of information. And no, Mr. User123 on YouTube. Big corporations don't want to lose money on purpose by pushing their woke agenda. Yeah. I really hope that is just a case of YouTube babysitting a 12-year-old. All right, but on to this. And how is this Tailspin's fault? So you have to remember, Chell has been in this testing stuff, right? And this is how she moves around, like that, you know. And GLaDOS is trying to torment her. GLaDOS is just trying to get under her skin. And so a lot of what she says, she doesn't know what she's saying per se. Think about it like if you were just skimming through and reading social media and you just took some of that and you're like, I have no idea what any of this means, but I'm going to say these words back to you because I see a bunch of angry posts underneath these words. And that's kind of what Shell's doing with GLaDOS is doing with Shell. And so GLaDOS will say things about being fat. Clearly Shell's not fat. Like, there's all this stuff just trying to get her under. And she thinks adoption, she's decided, is negative. It's not negative. There's nothing negative about adoption. But it's like this weird thing that she can poke at. And it just makes a joke about it, right? And again, she has no actual care about adoption or not. She's just trying to say you're unloved and like some weird thing. Of course, now adoption gets, oh my God, they politicized loving adoption now too. So, okay. So yeah, I guess we're woke there. I guess that's part of also the problem with this whole woke stuff is it just really stupid people are scared about anything that isn't white bread. So if you eat rye bread, you're woke or something. I don't know. Okay, but back to this. How do we get to adoption? Well, I was living in New Orleans, and there's this cereal that was giving out little toys, and the little toys were for Tailspin. I love that cartoon, and so I was trying to collect all the little toys, and I was really excited. And I don't really eat cereal, but I was eating cereal just to get the toys, and they were coming out with like a new toy every week, so I had to eat a lot of cereal, and I am just chowing this stuff down, and I'm all excited, and I go into the bed. Back then it was like the big superstore, I think it was called, or something. It was this big yellow store, I think off in Metairie, we'd go to. And I pull out the box, and it's no longer Tailspin focused. Instead, they've got famous people trading cards on the back. And I forget who the person was, but it's the famous person was. And the fun fact, it said like, fun fact, adopted. Like, again, nothing wrong with adoption, nothing wrong with being adopted, but calling that, like, as the fun fact, this, like, interesting tidbit, maybe you didn't know, but, like, fun fact, it just is a weird way of phrasing it. It cracked me up, and I cut that card out, and I saved it. And one time I was talking with Eric, and we were talking about GLaDOS and Shell, and I'm like, oh, like, the fun fact of being adopted, and I talked about this, right? And so then he worked it in. And it just came from that. And then later, we were going to use the idea of fun facts, actually, for the soldier in TF2. And his fun fact was going to be favorite world war. I'll let you guess which one. But, like, you shouldn't have a favorite world war, right? Like, that's a weird thing. But, again, fun fact. And it was used as a joke, right? And so it was just us trying to write jokes, us not trying to be political. Like, if we made a joke now about adoption, would that be considered political because one side has decided to say weird things about adopted children? Like, right? Like, there's a whole minefield if you're really not that bright that you're going to create for yourself and then say everybody's setting off these mines because you think adoption is now political or something, right? And all it is us trying to make jokes based off of a cereal box that made us laugh. And that's how writing works. There is no secret agenda. There's no big high horse. There are people wanting to tell a story. And sometimes that story involves people who aren't white, cis males. The agenda there isn't some crazy, oh my God, we've got to get all the kids something or other. I don't know. I seriously, but it's just simply like, hey, here's an interesting point of view. Here's an interesting perspective. I remember when I played Gone Home the first time. Have you played Gone Home? You should play Gone Home. It still holds up. A walking simulator. But at one point, there's the story starts unfolding about what the game's really about. I thought it was a horror game, and it started talking about the relationship that it's really about in the kitchen. And I remember thinking, man, I wish a game just made a story about this, because it'd be so much more interesting than whatever BS horror thing I'm about to go down. I'm playing this because I'm friends with the people who made it. But like, man, I really wish it went down that route instead of this horror stuff. And then it went down that route. And I'm like, this is awesome, because this is a different story than I've heard before. There's a different perspective. This is different insight. This is talking about something different and new. There's no agenda there. There isn't. Like, your agenda is that they're willing to trade off things to push some messaging. No, everyone's just trying to make the best thing possible. And games are so hard to make, so complex, with so many moving parts. You are just trying to make the thing, like in the case of Portal, that makes us laugh and hopefully makes you laugh.